Hi, everybody. I'm Brooke with Conversations with Brooke. So, today we're going to talk about generational healing. A question that I've been asked multiple times is, why did I choose to heal with my parents? A lot of people, if they've come out of a damaging religious background or come out of a cult or something of that nature. First of all, a lot of people's family ties have been broken. Sometimes they get out and the family's still in. Sometimes that could be parents, that could be kids, that could be across the board. Other times the ties are just too damaged. For me, so one of the things that was unique that happened consistently is that growing up in the environment that I grew up in, there was this place that me and my family was always put at odds together, at each other. So it was continuously manipulated to have fights with each other. When we were children, so one of the weird things that they always did is they pit children against their parents. So they would consistently, even go to the school and talk to children about what was wrong with them. They would pit us against our parents. So they would, if we had something going on, if two of the kids got in a fight one day, it was like, oh, you're mad because your parents are fighting and you need to go home and you need to express to them and you need to tell them how angry you are. So there was these consistent moments where we were told to fight with our parents. And then the same thing happened against our siblings. So I was told, I can't even remember how young the first time I was told it, but I was consistently told when I was upset about something or angry about something that I was in competition with my sister, my older sister. If something happened with me, this is because you're in competition with your sister. This is because you're angry with your sister. This is because you're mad at your mom. This is because your mom didn't handle this. This is because your dad's not pulling you in. So it didn't matter what was going on with me. I was given a reason why it was somebody in my family's fault, which meant that we were always then put in the position that we had to handle the situation by going and addressing it with whoever that was. So we would have processes, again, where we were pulled together within our families, and then we were made to express our anger that we were told we had. So a lot of the times it's not like, as kids, we all go through stuff and we all have moments where we're upset with our parents or upset with whoever. But this was like designed and manipulated to create dysfunction. My opinion is that it was specifically made so that none of us were close enough so that we would never leave. If my family had been able to be tighter as a unit and we weren't so at each other's throats all the fucking time, I don't think we would have stayed as long as we did. And it's really sad to me because it's taken me a really long time to heal the relationships, not just with my parents, but also with my siblings. Because we did nothing but fight. We all fucking hated each other. And when we were younger, we weren't like that. I was really close with my older sister. It actually wasn't until we moved to Arizona that me and her relationship got really shitty. And it was because we were consistently told they had a real thing about being in blood. And what that means, what being in blood meant is that if you had, being in blood basically means that you are being overly something towards the people that are your family. So they always had this huge emphasis about taking in other people like your family, which a part of I totally agree with. I have, as my kids were teenagers, they bring home friends, and I always loved on them. One of my daughter's friends lived with us for almost her entire last year of high school, and I would do that again. She was a sweetheart. She had a shitty home life, and I had no problem taking her in. So there's a certain side of it that I think can be wonderful, but this is not the way it was with us. The way it was with us is there was always this emphasis on on basically loving the people that you were related to. And so we were always, if there was anything that was anything, and I think they did it just to make people at each other's throats, they would say that you're being in blood, which was like telling you that all the reasons why you're making a horrible mistake and how you shouldn't be doing this. There was never anything positive in the way that we cared for each other as family. So me and my sister, although we had been close, our relationship began drifting apart, and then me and my brother fought horribly. Me and my brother used to get in physical, knockdown, horrible fights, and he was younger than me. So we're all about 4 years apart, roughly, just down the line. So my older sister, we're a little less than 4 years apart, and so when we moved, I was 8, which would make her 11 or 12 when we got here. And then my younger brother would have been about 4. I think he was about 3.5. And that was right before my baby sister was born. And my mom was pregnant with her when we moved here to Arizona. So with all this emphasis that was put to consistently be at each other's throats, when we got out, and it wasn't like we all got out at the same time, I kind of removed myself and then my parents began getting out, and we were still, none of us were close. And we just slowly began working on it. And at the same time, I remember thinking to myself, I started realizing how much damage they had done to my family. And I started realizing how I had missed having a relationship with my grandparents because they had always made my grandparents out to be horrible people. And I started realizing the wedges that it put between me and my siblings. And I started realizing the wedges it put between me and my children. And I wasn't going to let what I had grown up with and what these people had done to keep me from having a relationship with the people that I wanted to love and that I did love, and that I felt like that had been taken from me. I felt like it had been taken from me from my grandparents. I felt like it had been taken from me with my sister and with my brother and my younger sister even. Although me and my youngest sister, we actually stayed pretty close. For whatever weird reason, we were not at odds with each other through a lot of it. And, I wanted to figure out a way to heal with my parents. And there was a long time that I didn't talk to them a whole lot because I was going through a lot of stuff, and it was not, I had spent so many years telling my parents everything they had done wrong because that's the way I was raised in this dysfunctional environment. So through my healing process, I just needed to figure out what I needed, what I was okay with. And I mean, my parents knew. My parents have had an enormous amount of guilt for us growing up in that environment. I'm trying to heal all this, and I also came out with 2 teenagers who are, being raised by a single mother who's kind of dysfunctional and probably more than kind of, who's fairly dysfunctional and trying to just figure it out. And they're acting like teenagers. And they were getting in trouble all the time. And, my household was a train wreck. So one of the things I get into in my program is I talk a lot about generational healing. And when you can heal with one generation, it heals the other generations. And there's a lot of amazing stuff on this, and I really recommend you looking into it, because we have to understand that this dysfunction didn't start for my kids. This dysfunction didn't start with my parents. This dysfunction, started before that. And it's gone down from generation to generation, and it may look different among the different generations, but at the same time, like, when do we stop and take responsibility and say, I'm going to figure out one way or another how to heal this so that my kids can have more stable and beautiful relationships with their children, and so that their children and their children's children don't continue all this kind of stuff. How do we begin to have the conversation that we're going to heal for the sake of the generations that come behind us, so they don't go through the same pain that we went through? So I healed with my parents because I wanted to have an amazing relationship with my parents. I wanted to be there for them, and I wanted to be able to rely on them to be there for me, and I wanted them to have positive relationships with my children, and I wanted my kids to have grandparents in their life that I didn't get to have, because my parents were always fighting with my grandparents because of all of the shit that had gone on. And it's not that there's not valid reasons, but at some point you got to begin having the conversation to decide, this isn't really helping anybody, and you have to decide to forgive people. And forgiving people isn't about saying that this wasn't something that was dysfunctional and shitty, because it was incredibly dysfunctional and shitty, and there was a lot of pain caused in all of it. But it's when you forgive somebody, you're saying, I'm not going to let the pain dictate the future. I'm not going to continue to let this destroy what we can create. And it's meaningful to me to have these people that I love in my life. And it's meaningful to me to be a parent that is incredibly there for my children and looks at healing for everybody's sake. So that when my kids have their own children, that they can't even fathom this kind of dysfunction within their family, so that they can go on and do more, and they can go on and build better future. And my big thing is, like, let's change the world, and let's do it for all the right reasons. And we have to heal ourselves so that we can be there for others to do that. And so that's my goal. I hope this touched you, and I hope to connect with you soon. Make sure to check out 100yearsofbliss.com and 100 Years of Bliss quiz if you'd like to take my quiz. I look forward to chatting with you. And subscribe to my channel, and we'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.